Hey, it is. This year has almost ended, and somehow, one of my personal favorites on YouTube has released an absolute banger that got me an immediate idea. Okay, you can find the link in the description. The video is called How to Speedrun Fixing Typos by Carrie KH. You might know Carrie KH under in different ways as the random Sudoku nerd, the random Rubik's Cube nerd, or maybe the math nerd or the neural network nerd, or maybe as one of the people behind Jack and Jellyfy. But yeah, that's perhaps something worth discussing another time. This time, however, this is about fixing typos. Essentially, the question is, assuming text is a perfect grid, and by the way, Carrie, for your information, that's what you call a monospaced font, but I don't expect that from a non-typographer that you know. How should you arrange the letters in such a way that the text can be fixed on average with as few key presses as possible? Now, there are a couple of issues that were not accounted for. First of all, the fact that text is oftentimes far from monospaced, but for the purposes of of what I'd like to do, I'll explain to you in a moment. I think that is a reasonable simplification because otherwise it just gets far too complicated. At least unless you have an idea on how to model it without the simplification, that would be really great. I mean, the difference in width between an L and an M is, in lowercase, is pretty noticeable, to say the least, in most fonts. And I'm referring specifically to non-monospaced fonts, where L is essentially just a vertical line and M is this squiggly thing with its two arches. But anyways, the next thing that was not accounted for, but can't really blame him honestly, is what if you notice multiple typos at once? What is the optimal path to remove multiple typos as well as possible, and what is the optimal shape for that? Now, it does happen relatively rarely that people notice typos, multiple typos all at once. But nevertheless, if it is possible to explore it reasonably, then why not? And another thing, another issue is the fact that oftentimes you'll have to deviate a little from the optimal shape because, words have a certain length and you can't just break a word just like within the word. Like, I know there are you can use a hyphen to separate the word into two lines, but that is, in many contexts, that's actually bad practice. An example would be websites, and in order to make something website-ish, even if it was printed media, it would be avoided. And personally, in my own writing style, I just don't do that at all, and instead just pick the words so that the gaps aren't awkward, which I found made my text a lot more thought out because I had to actually think of many different synonyms to use. That's always a good opportunity to step back and think whether there's a different way to express something that might even be more fitting. But well, anyways, why am I even commenting on this? I have an idea. Given that several shapes have been compared there and they have been scored in a certain way, why don't we make a competition, say on a Discord server, where people submit their shapes with as elaborate descriptions as possible, and then they are tested one against another on a regular basis in order to find the best of the best only of shapes. And as we get closer and closer to an optimum, obviously we have to become more and more precise with our data, but that's up to future people to worry about, aka future me probably. And also we should try different sizes, because maybe it likely depends on the size of the text, like on how many characters overall, what shape is actually best. It might depend on the size. That's something else worth exploring. And I just was thinking of perhaps making a community that dedicates itself to it. And it is one of those things where I think people come up with insanely crazy ideas. I mean, people did that for a PowerPoint and flags. Now that I mentioned that, I'll probably link to the video on making flags on PowerPoint by Dr. Zai, who only made 3 videos across his entire 5-year-long YouTube career or something. But happens. Wait a second, what on earth? I just realized Carrie is online, so I will go there and go in the live stream and share that idea, so I can get that idea, put that idea forth. So see you next year.